How are we going, everybody? I was out of here the other day cleaning up a little bit, the little time that I have on myself, to myself that is. And I've come to this bed here and I took out some of the spring onions we had in here. And this is the last of the beetroot. Look at these monsters. They're huge. They've got to come out and we're going to prepare this bed to plant another batch of veggies. But I want to check the soil underneath. Now this bed here was prepared, for those who haven't seen this before, wait a second, before we go to the bed, let me see if I can get this monster out. Wait, here we go. There we are. There's a beetroot. They're having a field day there. A lot of insects. They're all living their dream, but this, all intact. They're trying to punch through it, but they haven't gone through it. Look at that, that's huge. So this bed here was prepared a few months ago with straw at the bottom. And if you haven't done this before, note it down. If you've got a raised bed, a new raised bed like this here, fill it up halfway with straw. Pick any old bale of straw. The older the better, because it starts to break down and decompose and you've got it active. And then on top of that, what I do is I put a layer of compost and cocoa pith. Now you can put it either way, either cocoa first or compost on top. So a bed like this would get at least 2 bags, maybe 4 bags of each. Cocoa, then compost, and then on top of that is what I do is with a planting mix. I cover it over with our famous planting mix, and that's what this bed had. Now, when I did do it initially, Jesus, what am I going to do with all these beetroot? When I did this initially, I finished the surface. There's probably still some markings just below the top of the planter here. So this is an old apple crate. It was up to here and it had the straw on top, and that's the straw as you can see there. Look how far it's sunken down now. Part of this sinking is the mulch itself decomposing, compacting down, because there's a lot of air in between it. And over time, as the moisture gets through, it starts to decompose it and compact it at the same time. But also there is a little bit of shrinkage in the soil, because I haven't watered this bed. I can't remember the last time I watered it, to be honest with you. And to give you an idea, look at the shrinkage. Look at this gap here. So that's all shrinkage. So it really has needed a lot more watering in it. Now, the fact that I haven't watered it, you would say it's completely dry underneath, right? And that's with every garden bed. I find the ground dries out a lot quicker than the raised beds. Now, this hasn't had water for, I won't say weeks, but at least a week, maybe a week and a half. And look at the mulch. Dry, completely dry, yep. There's a little bit of a wilt here. That's an old eggplant that got transplanted across here. Now that got moved away from another bed because it had a bit of mite on it, or lace bug underneath it. You can see the silvering of the leaf. See, it does that discoloration. So I took that away from the other plant so we don't get an infection going on. I could have sprayed it, but I thought I'll just move it over and see what happens. Now that wilt there is because I did transplant it. I don't know if it's about the moisture or not, but let's have a look underneath. So come down. And let's see what's going on under here. Just move the mulch away. So where the mulch is, it's still a little bit damp there, but let's see what's going on underneath. We're going to crack this open, folks. It's wet. It's got worms in there. It's got lots of worms in here. We've done this before, haven't we? So there's a lot of moisture here. Let's see how, I'm going to go down a bit further to see what's going on with the mulch underneath. I'm just inspecting all this here first. Look at all these worms. Have a look at these beauties, eh? Look at that, there's a whole colony going on here. That comes with your planting mix, because we put worm castings in there, and most times you'll find there are eggs in there as well with the worm casting. So you get your own batch of worms that will grow and populate. You're not going to get worms, well, probably get worms jumping in here, and I really don't know how nature does that, but not to this amount, but that's because it comes in the planting mix. But you ain't going to find earthworms in here because it's off the ground, so unless you add those earthworms in here, you're really not going to find them in here. But what you're going to find is the composting worms. And this is ideal because it's decomposing at the same time. So you've got all the wonderful organic matter in here, the superfood that we have in here. You've got worms that have just gone nuts in eating it. Look how moist it is. Look how moist this is. I don't want to squash the worms, but look at that. It's forming beautifully and it just crumbles away as well. So I've gone down, I've brought up the compost. I'm trying to find the straw under here. Wow. I don't think I'm going to find any straw. Is it decomposed that quickly? Wow. Let's see how far down these worms go. Oh, I think I hit straw. Here we go. There we are. There's the straw that's underneath there. You can see how wet that is. So that's like a wicking bed now. The straw holds the moisture in there and stops the soil from drying out, and it wicks upwards. And these worms, well, they've all disappeared now because I've disturbed them. I'm sure they're pushing their way around back into the earth. Geez, they're quick. There's one there still. Lots of worms, lots of straw, decomposition. So when you're layering your bed, and you can do this with a raised bed or even on the ground. And obviously you're going to put a lot less into it if it's on the ground, because you don't actually need to layer it up that high in thickness. So this had about that much cocoa, which is about 40 millimeters, sorry, and the same in compost, and then about 50 to 60 millimeters or 5-6 centimeters of planting mix on top. So we ended up with about 100-150 mil of growing medium on top of the straw, maybe a little bit more, and then we put more straw on top, and then all we did was activate it with our liquid fertilizers. A very, very simple approach to preparing your garden bed, no matter what type of garden you have. As far as the soil condition is concerned, it will all work in the same way at the end. So if you've got sandy soil, it will build up the body. If it's clay soil, it will break it down, because the composting process activates, and you've got these worms in there that will start burrowing through into your soil below. What you need to make sure is to have enough moisture there, because if you have no straw at the bottom, and we're talking about ground level, so if your garden bed's on the ground, you've obviously either got clay or sandy loam, and if your soil's prone to being completely dry all the time, it will take a long time to hydrate it deep below, but you need to get that mulch on top of it to keep it hydrated, because you can't get the mulch underneath, as I've got here, which works as a sponge and releases and decomposes at the same time. This bed here will hold its moisture, as all other raised beds that I've done in this manner. But the ones that don't have any straw underneath, I find dry out a lot quicker. They go hard underneath there. But that's why you got that porosity with the straw underneath. So in the ground or on the ground, add lots of mulch on top and make sure it stays hydrated, not just above, even the drip system. I found that combining the two is a more efficient way to keep the ground hydrated. And just before we go, I'll show you what I mean, because that raised bed there has no mulch underneath there. You can see I've got the drip system here, but it hasn't been used for a while, and this bed has cocoa underneath, and I've only allowed nature to rain on it, and look, it's dry. It is dry. So the irrigation has to be turned on, and that's only because I haven't been here and I haven't given anybody instructions to turn it on and or water it. So I'm digging right down here, and I've got real dry soil. Plants are alive, they're just holding on, and I'll tell you something, they should have been a lot bigger by now, and that's all because of the moisture level. Overhead watering, with all the rain we've had, has still not been able to hydrate this bed deep enough for us. When the drip system comes on, and I'll leave it on overnight, it holds its moisture for at least 3 or 4 days. That's comfortable. So that's to tell you that you need to hydrate it with a drip system, a bed like this, twice a week, and then overhead watering on every other day if you can. And that way, your plants will grow a lot quicker and a lot happier. Well, the cherries are doing pretty well. And so are these bloody beetroots. Look at them. Bull's blood, they're called. If you want to try some of these, we've got the seeds online. And if you want to get some planting mix and get your garden activated just like these ones here, go to our website, vasilisgarden.com. From me, Vasily. I haven't got a thumb. Maresi. There you go.